I cannot exactly pinpoint the day or even the year that my mother stopped speaking. We started out as a happy family. When Mom turned 49 years old, we at first thought she had symptoms of depression or menopause. She started becoming confused and forgetting things. Before this time, my mother had devoted herself to being a wife and mother, as well as an active community member. My parents married on a Memorial Day in eastern Pennsylvania as hundreds of guests squeezed into a tiny house. They then moved to North Carolina, where my father completed his PhD in mathematics and where I, their oldest child, was born. My father then began a distinguished career as a mathematics professor at Northwestern University outside of Chicago. They went on to have 3 more children. My mother became well known for her cooking and especially for her baking. The house was filled with music and artwork and many interesting dinner parties. Saul Bellow was rumored to have fallen in love with my mother's little sweet and sour meatballs. When my mother turned 40 years old, our youngest sister was born. She grew up with a mother quite different than the rest of us had. Mom at first started forgetting how to cook. She would become confused by recipes that she had made dozens of times and would forget what the difference was between a fork and a knife. She would try putting her sweater over her coat. She stopped wearing her red lipstick. The family tried to remain silent about these changes, and Dad talked to no one about them. My youngest sister eventually told Dad that Mom was driving through stop signs and going the wrong way on a one-way street. When she finally started talking to Dad, the rest of us convinced him that there was something going terribly wrong. I moved home to help my dad and watch my mother struggle with simple tasks. She was still trying to do the laundry, but forgetting to use detergent and was dusting with tiny pieces of Kleenex. The most profound change was that she had stopped speaking, and probably even more painful was how apparent it was that she had no idea who I, her oldest daughter, was. The last sound that I heard her make was when my dad and I admitted her into a nursing home, as it had become too difficult to care for her at home. As I sat in the lobby, I heard her begin this terrible howling, the sound of which still startles me awake. Mom lived in the nursing home for almost 10 years. The family continued to visit and watched as she forgot how to walk and feed herself. It was painful to visit, as my mother had no idea of who we were and usually totally ignored us. I would bring in my daughter when she was a baby and named after my mother's youngest sister. I hoped that the name and the cuteness of a baby would stimulate some sort of response. There was no response at all. We started hoping for the end. We waited for her to forget how to breathe, the final step in her disappearance from this world as my mother. I am now 59 years old, and each word or name that I forget sends me into a panic that I too will start to disappear.